how does one find out if your husband has narcissistic personality disorder that won't change, or if it's just an addiction he can recover from?
Okay, so there we go. So I think with this specific question, but I think it would be needed to just give a little bit of context surrounding narcissism. And when it comes to any mental disorder or any presentation of challenging behavior or emotional status, if I can say it like that, anything that you can find in a diagnostic criteria or diagnostic manual is a representation of human behavior going in one direction or another into more extremes, if I can say it like that. So it's very easy to, if you were to take that manual and open it up, to see that, oh, I fit 10 different disorder criterias here, because those disorders are aligned with human behavior. So when it comes to something like narcissism, just as it is, a lot of people can present with narcissism or narcissistic traits. A lot of people can also, for example, just have a bout or just act a bit self-centered. I think we've all done that before. Now, when we talk about a narcissistic personality disorder, just to set this kind of like boundary, narcissistic personality disorder is a persistent presentation of someone who acts in a self-centered, grandiose, unempathetic manner, all with the core of narcissistic personality disorder is to be able to validate oneself to the utmost extremes, to validate oneself at the cost of anything else. That is the absolute core when it comes to narcissistic personality disorder. And it's not just in one instance or one case. It's something that occurs throughout. It's a persistent pattern that occurs. And it's not just at work or at home. It's across different settings where that occurs. So I think it's important to be able to differentiate that from, let's say, someone who generally doesn't come across as narcissistic, but then goes into a very challenging situation, who might then express more narcissistic tendencies. But when it comes to, for example, identifying someone who does have a narcissistic personality disorder, that is, of course, now the realm of a psychologist to be able to do. And usually, different psychologists have different processes that they make use of to come to a diagnosis. But there is well, I know of one, but I know there's more than one, rigorous assessment tools that can be used to help ensure that there is or that can screen, let me rather say, for a potential narcissistic personality disorder to be present. So usually it would only be able to be diagnosed if a psychologist can see the person, and that diagnosis, if it were to be given, gains a lot more validity if it is also paired with an assessment being conducted with the individual. So that's how to kind of like differentiate and pass that from, for example, an addictive tendency. Because I think also the question about, okay, is it just an addiction, or is it a narcissism? Well, when it comes to addiction can kind of like be seen as a symptom presentation of a deeper problem, whatever that deeper problem might be. Because a lot of men might seem very selfish, because why do we engage in those behaviors? Why would you do that at the cost of everyone around you? Well, for a lot of times it might seem like it's very self-centered, very selfish, and of course it is a selfish action. But because it's done in a selfish manner does not mean it's done out of a place of I need to seek validation and gain a sense of superiority or grandiosity out of doing that action. The deeper seated problem might be something else entirely. It completely depends from person to person what the reason behind that specific action would be. I hope this starts answering and opens up the platform a little bit for it. But if I've missed anything with regards to answering the question or anything I need to clarify a little bit, I would be more than happy to do so.
Thanks,
I would love to
Stefan.
hear.
Yes,
Great.
go
So
for
I'd
it,
love to
Kenneth.
hear. I'd love to hear Bev's response to sort of that summary of narcissism. Bev, what did you take out of what Stefan shared?
No, I think it was a very, very good summary, because it is something that can only be diagnosed by psychologists in a rigorous screening procedure, because we can often see people as narcissistic in our lives, those are around us, especially those who are addicted, and we can assume that they are narcissistic. But as Stefan said, the addiction is actually the fruit of what is a root underneath that is causing that. What is the root? And it may nothing to do with narcissism. It may be something that is just insecurity or trauma in childhood, or had some bad upbringing from a parenting point of view. There could be so many different areas why they go into addiction. And then we assume because they're unempathetic, because they are not being sympathetic and kind and considerate, that they're narcissistic. And it's not necessarily that as such at all. So it was a very good summary, and I think that was very valid. Thank you, Stefan.